As Frank said, there are about 1.8 million teachers of science in the U.S. If you look at the K-8 spectrum, just the K-8 spectrum, they might not call themselves science teachers, but they are teachers of science. You don't wait till upper middle school to start teaching science. So how can we get content knowledge out to them in a way that's efficient, other than just face-to-face? It's great to be here. We believe in hands-on, experiential, inquiry experiences that are extended, like with the Department of Education, what they referenced, or what NOAA referenced. But what do you do when you're not somewhere for a summer for 1 to 2 weeks, or here for 2 days? So what I'd like to present to you is something that we do call the NSTA Learning Center. And what you see in front of you right now is a visual depiction of that. You would progress from left to right across this screen. And then in the middle, right in here, is where you see there's about 3,000 resources there now that we've made in partnership with NASA and NOAA. And there's a series of tools on the right-hand side that add value to those EPD resources. What I'm going to do is play about a 4-minute piece for you. It's multimedia, and then I'll come back to this slide. You can go online and we have a testimonial page where we've deployed with districts and states across the country and read some of those testimonials. Let me go ahead and advance now. If I want to look at the size of the collection, we do have several SciPacks. I can say some of you all have received emails, I'm sure, when you registered for the conference. That tool that you just saw is free. And we said, hey, let's make sure when you come to the conference that you have an account that works. If you have any questions, we will have a booth at the street fair where Dr. Greg Sherman and Flavio Mendez will be to help resolve any account issues or answer your questions about how to get access to that tool. There are about 3,000 resources in the NST Learning Center itself. And we've also made a SciPack available for free for this conference and its related science objects, Ocean's Effect on Weather and Climate. So we have resources related to climate as well that we've co-developed with our partner, NOAA. In addition to that, if you look down the list on the left-hand side, you can see the things that were talked about in that presentation. On the right-hand side, what you see, if you're not a partnership through a district or a state partnership with NSTA, if you were, all the resources are free all the time, but if you're an individual, if you're not even a member of NSTA, you just want to come in, we have 25% of those resources available for free. That's over 1,000 at no price, and they cut across all the types that we make available. And then many of the things have some fees, such as books and short courses. So let me drill down very quickly and talk a little bit about that SciPack that was referenced in that multimedia presentation. It's an on-demand, just-in-time, just enough, just for me, electronic professional development that can supplement face-to-face experiences. They're about 5 to 10 hours in duration, and they contain about 3 to 5 free little nuggets called science objects. And then you saw that presentation where it said you have unlimited email support from PhD content experts in the content areas for each SciPack. So if you're looking at why is the apogee 45 degrees to send a probe up to go to climate to measure ozone depletion or something, you can click a button and people will answer your questions if you're struggling with a simulation. There's that pedagogical implications component. Once you feel confident in the content, we have a section that's grade banded, K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12, and we call the literature for you. And we present about 3 to 5 pages and say, if you're going to teach this to elementary or middle school, here are the best practices that you might want to think about to teach those concepts. Here are the known pre- or misconceptions to think about before you teach those concepts. And here's what is cognitively appropriate by that grade band if you're going to talk about the solar system or climate change. And then finally, there is an opportunity in the SciPack for a final assessment. You get 3 tries. It's pass-fail, and if you pass it, you get a certificate validated and signed by our executive director that then you can turn in for CEU or graduate credit, things of that nature, for recertification or highly qualified status. Let me just click on one simulation, these interactives that are embedded throughout the SciPacks and the science objects. And since it's a climate conference, this is one we did with NOAA. It's called Coral Reef Ecosystems. So imagine this, there's narrative above it, there's a simulation, and there's 3 to 5 questions after every simulation. There's instructions, of course, some introductory announcements here, and then here are the variables that we get to look at across the bottom to sustain or create a coral reef ecosystem. I'm a physics teacher, physical science teacher, so, but for pH, here are the variables, so it's not my content area. For pH, we'll set it at a level pH, and for temperature, we'll make it hot. We'll leave it clear, and let's do salt. We'll leave it low. If you submit that, then you get feedback, and it tells you what you have appropriate within the variables and what you might want to change. So if I reset it and have a medium pH and a high temperature, clear light, and a medium salinity, then congratulations, I get to build a coral reef ecosystem, and I can sustain fisheries and life in that regard. Yeah, that's the right response. Okay, so those things are littered throughout the science objects and SciPacks. And we do that. I need to really call a shout out to NOAA. We don't make those. We have the technology and the instructional design, and it's the NOAA scientists and experts that are the content that make sure it's accurate and valid and current. So we did we have an article that's come out just this past February in the Journal of Science, Education, and Technology. It's published by myself and Dr. Greg Sherman, who's in the audience. He's the person at that booth, so we want to recognize his work for helping us do this third-party evaluation. It was a 3-district pilot on Force in Motion SciPac, and you can see at the top that the teachers were very honest. Before they took the Force in Motion SciPac, they were not very confident in their ability to teach it. And afterwards, about 60% were, so that's significant gains in growth. And then the statistics are pretty high. Their percentages that they like the simulations and they want more of them, and they would recommend them to their colleagues. It's nice that they like the content, but it's much ado about nothing if they don't learn anything. That's right. So we worked with Horizon Research out of Carolina, and they had a third-party instrument that they deployed through the web, and they did a post-test, and they found significant gains in learning between the pre and post after doing the SciPac, and about 92% passed the final assessment at the end of the SciPac itself. So we're encouraged by these results, and we try to keep that same level of integrity for production for all the SciPacs. There are a suite of tools that you saw highlighted through that multimedia presentation, and here you see them listed for you again. There are some bullets at the bottom that if there's a partnership, of course, that's where only those states and administrators have access to those progress reports. I'm going to highlight just one tool, the Professional Development Plan and Portfolio tool. And again, I want to thank Dr. Greg Sherman as our third-party evaluator. There's a lot of formative review that goes into make these tools, so we want to thank him for helping us make this tool work. Basically, this is the tool that you all will use if you want a certificate showing that you participated in this conference. That's why heretofore we just wanted to give you the free account to the NST Learning Center. You can download all the free resources, but it's this tool where you would go and write some reflections about what you thought about this conference and how I might grow and how I might translate this for my classroom. If you use that tool and create a PD plan document and send that to NSTA, then we will send back to you a certificate like this from Dr. Gerald Wheeler, and you can either put that in your portfolio, print it, and use it to validate your experience here at the conference. There are 60,000 individual users. It increases daily that if you're an individual and you come into the Learning Center where you're spending large periods of time going through these science objects, reading journals, forwarding them to colleagues and things. But if you're a district or a state, I wanted to put up some of the partnerships that we have with state departments of education, districts, and even there's about 3 universities right now that are using the Learning Center's resources for pre-service teachers. So it's a neat resource we're proud of. We think it's fairly unique. So to close, we think that the Learning Center really allows us to scale beyond just face-to-face professional development. It's something that is sustainable. It's free or very modest costs, so we can continue to embellish and make new resources. It is individualized. You can personally self-assess your areas of where you want to grow and just get however you want to learn. If you want to read, you get it. If you want interactives right now, you can get it. If you want to participate with others in real time, with NASA, NOAA, NSF, NIH, you can do these web seminars and interact through a live web page. So no matter what your learning preference is, it's individualized through the type of content and the way you want to learn. And then finally, there is a level of accountability. It's not just seat time that you went through an experience, but there's ways to document growth over time. That's it for me. I want to thank you, and whoever the next person is in the program, I'll turn it back to them.